We're going to be looking at the school data information to figure out which factors may be related to if a state has a lower or higher teacher average salary. So I'm going to start off by dragging a plot, and we want to look at average salary. So I'm going to drag that to the x-axis, and then I want to separate the data. So now I'm going to click through the different attributes to display their colors on the average salary graph and use that to decide which attributes I want to further investigate. So if I start with state, now I don't see any correlation between the states and the average salary, so I'm going to rule that one out. Looking at the census region, you can see that these red dots appear to be more towards the right of the graph. So if I click on the red dot, I can see that that region is northeast. So I'm going to go ahead and make the prediction that northeast region has a higher average salary than the other regions. If I look at census division, once again, I don't really see any correlation, so I'm going to rule that out. Looking at expenditure per student, it does look like the lighter dots, which represent lower values, do fall where the lower average salary falls. So I'd like to look at that when I further investigate. Looking at number of teachers, doesn't really look like there's any correlation between that, so I'm going to rule that out. Number of high school grads, once again, doesn't really look like there's much correlation there. Looking at the revenue per student. For this, it looks like the lighter dots, which represent lower values, also fall where there's a lower average salary. So that's something I'm going to want to look at again. And then students per teacher, no correlation between those two. So I'm going to rule that one out as well. So my final factors that I'm going to look at are the census region, expenditures per student, and revenue per student. Okay. So now I'm going to create, since I want to look at 3 different comparisons, I'm going to create 3 plots. On each plot, I'm going to have average salary be on the x-axis. Okay, pull these out so I can see them better. Okay, now on this first graph, I'm going to put the census region. The second one, I will put expenditures per student. On this third one, I will put revenue per student. Okay, now I want to separate these a little more so you can see the data better. Okay, so now I have 3 graphs. Looking at these 3 graphs, look at them each separately. In this first one, it does, like I predicted, that look like the Northeast tends to have a higher average salary compared to the other regions, just based on these points over here. And they have less points over here on the left. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and delete that one. Now looking at this one, comparing revenue per student to average salary. There we go. Okay, so you can see that in this graph, where there's a higher revenue per student, teachers are making more money. Therefore, revenue per student correlates to a higher salary for teachers. And finally, looking at the expenditures per student, let me fully separate this graph. Once again, you can see that the higher the expenditure per student, the higher average salary the teachers are making. So overall, in this exploration, I was able to go through the attributes and use the color gradation to make my narrow down the attributes and make the predictions about which would have the higher correlation with the average salary. And then from there, I was able to explore it deeper and see that my initial predictions were correct, and those 3 attributes do have an effect on the salary that the teachers are making. So in a classroom, students could do this to make initial predictions and then test those predictions by creating the 3 different scatter plots like I did. Okay, and that's it.